What happens when a 37-year veteran employee suddenly has to become an intern again, working under a young CEO who seems to have everything figured out? That is the basic setup of the Korean remake of The Intern, and honestly, the first still cuts already have me curious. This time, Choi Min Sik takes on the senior intern role while So Hee plays a successful young CEO, creating a completely different dynamic from the original film. With the Korean version arriving in theaters on September 16, 2026, let's take a closer look at 8 things revealed by the first still cuts and why this remake could actually bring something fresh to a story we already know. 1. Choi Min Sik becomes senior intern. Kim Gi-ho. Choi Min Sik transforms into Kim Gi-ho, a highly experienced senior intern joining Woo22, a young fashion startup. Just seeing him in this role already feels interesting because we are used to seeing Choi Min Sik in much more intense characters. Here, he has to navigate an entirely different kind of challenge, surviving the modern workplace. 2. He has 37 years of work experience. Kim Gi-ho is not an ordinary intern. He has spent 37 years working before deciding to start over. In fact, this is only the second time in his life that he is experiencing a first day at work. And I think that gives the character a surprisingly relatable angle. Imagine having decades of experience, but suddenly being expected to learn a completely new working culture. 3. The young office culture confuses him. The Woo22 office is casual, flexible, and filled with younger employees, which is completely unfamiliar territory for Kim Gi-ho. He has to adapt while surrounded by people who may have completely different ideas about communication and work. Personally, I think these scenes could be some of the funniest parts of the movie, especially if the remake highlights the generation gap without making either side look foolish. 4. Kim Gi-ho works directly under CEO Sun Woo, and then things get even more interesting because Kim Gi-ho is assigned directly under Sun Woo, played by So Hee. So we have an experienced older intern working for a young CEO who is already extremely successful. The power dynamic is almost the opposite of what you might expect, and that alone could create plenty of memorable interactions. 5. Sun Woo is a rising star in fashion. Sun Woo is not just a young boss. In only 3 years, she has developed Woo22 into a company considered a dark horse in the fashion industry. She has talent, strong instincts, great taste, and the courage to make difficult decisions. Basically, she looks like someone who has mastered the business world before even reaching an age when most people are still figuring out their careers. Number 6, her leadership skills are impressive. The still cuts also emphasize how capable Sun Woo is as a leader. But that raises an interesting question. Can someone be incredibly successful professionally while still struggling personally? That seems to be one of the central themes of this remake. And honestly, So Hee playing a powerful CEO is a combination I did not know I needed until now. 7. Sun Woo is losing her personal life. Behind all that success, Sun Woo is slowly neglecting her personal life because she is constantly chasing the next achievement. This is where the story could become more emotional. She may have the company, money, and reputation, but what happens when success comes at the cost of having a life outside work? I think this is one area where the Korean remake could really connect with modern audiences. 8. Kim Gi-ho changes her perspective. At first, Kim Gi-ho's presence makes Sun Woo uncomfortable. But through their interactions, he gradually gives her a new perspective on work, success, and life. And this is probably the part I am most excited to see. The relationship is not simply about an older employee teaching a younger boss or vice versa. Both characters have something to learn from each other. That makes their friendship potentially much more meaningful than just a typical workplace relationship. So, after seeing these first still cuts, I honestly think the Korean remake of The Intern has enough differences to justify its existence instead of simply copying the original. Choi Min Sik and So Hee also create a fascinating contrast, and I am especially curious to see whether their chemistry can carry the emotional heart of the story. The movie is directed by Kim Do-young, the filmmaker behind Kim Ji-young, born 1982 and Once We Were Us, which makes me even more interested in how the generational and emotional themes will be handled. But now I want to hear from you. Are you excited about this Korean remake? Or do you think the original The Intern should have been left untouched? And between Choi Min Sik and So Hee, who do you think will steal the show?